Hello and welcome back to the Tech Blackboard. Today is part 7 of our AZ-900 real exam question and answer series. A total of 15 power-packed questions awaits you from question number 86 to question number 100. For those who are new to this channel, don't miss to press that subscribe button, hit that bell icon to receive all the notifications. New videos are uploaded every week. If you're liking my videos and my efforts, please consider pressing that like button. Don't miss to watch earlier 6 parts of this series as they have covered very important questions and concepts that will surely go a long way to level up your overall AZ-900 scores. The links for all these 6 parts are given below in the description box. So let's start our part 7. Starting with question number 86. In these kind of questions, what you have to tell is whether this statement is correct or not. So the question says that resource group provides organizations with the ability to manage compliance of Azure resources across multiple subscription. So do you think this statement is correct, or do you need some changes to make it correct? For example, if you think this statement is correct, then you have to choose no change needed. However, if you feel that this statement is not correct and resource group is not something that can provide this ability, then you have to choose out of these 3 options. So let me first tell you what is a resource group. So you can think resource group as a container that holds resources for an Azure solution. Now it's important to understand that resource group can potentially hold all the resources for your solution, but I would say that's not a good practice because in one resource group you would want to keep resources that are ideally somehow connected. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have a big company, and in this company you have different departments, for example finance or HR, and let's say you want to control the cost based on these different departments. So what you will do is you will create a resource group that will only hold resources that are consumed by HR department. Similarly, you will create another resource group that will hold resources only used by finance department. So resource group is more to manage resources in an easier way. Okay, so this means that this statement is not correct. Now let's see what are the other options. The other options are management groups, Azure policies, and Azure app services. Now let me first tell you what is the correct option. The correct answer for this statement is management group. Before I show you the proof of the answer, you have to keep some of the keywords in mind. So for example, here it says that you need some ability to manage compliance of Azure resources across multiple subscription. Keep this in mind, multiple subscription. Now here I am on the Microsoft site, and this page talks about management group. So if you read the first line, it says that management groups are containers that help you manage access, policies, and compliance across multiple subscription. And that's exactly what our question is asking. So the management group is a correct option, but it's important that you understand that why I have not chosen Azure policies or Azure app service. See, Azure policies actually help you to enforce organizational standards or compliance. You can say the use cases for Azure policy includes implement governance for resources, consistency, regulatory compliance or security, cost management, and these things. So that's what Azure policy is used for. Thus, Azure policies is not the correct option. See, app services is something whenever you want to deploy or run your mobile app or a web app in Azure, then you use Azure app services for that. Thus, the only correct option for this question is management group. Moving on with our 87th question, it says that your company plans to migrate to Azure. The company has several departments. All the Azure resource used by each department will be managed by a department administrator. What are the 2 possible techniques to segment Azure for the departments? I told you what are resource group, and resource group are essentially something as a container, acts as a container to keep the related resources in a group. And then I also told you that if you have different departments, then you can use Azure Resource Group to manage the resources related to that department. And this question is also related or on those lines only. The correct answer for question number 87 is multiple subscription and multiple resource group. So you create multiple subscription. Why I'm saying multiple subscription? Because subscription is tied with your billing. So your billing, if the billing in Azure runs on the level of subscription, and in a subscription, you want to keep related resources together. That's why we have chosen multiple resource groups. So these two are the correct option. Coming to the other two ones, the Azure Active Directory is majorly related to your authorization and authentication. Regions are primarily used when you want to build high availability. So it has nothing to do what is the ask in the question. So let's move to our question number 88. In the question number 88, it says that you plan to store 20 TB of data in Azure. The data will be accessed infrequently and visualized by using Power BI. You need to recommend a storage solution for the data. Which two solutions should you recommend? Now, the keyword in this question is 20 TB. So we are talking about big data. Before I show you the correct answer, it's important that you understand that Power BI actually can connect to all of these. So according to the new capabilities of Power BI, it can connect to Data Lake, Cosmos DB, and Synapse Analytics as well. However, the keyword, the prime keyword here is 20 TB of data. And that's what that will guide us to our answer. The correct answer for this one is Azure Data Lake and Azure Synapse Analytics, because these are the database that can hold a large amount of data. So that's why I have chosen these two options. You can get a .pdf version of all the 7 parts covering a total of 100 questions and utilize that to learn in offline mode as well. For that, you have to answer the following questions in the comment section below. The first question you have to answer is how many questions were answered as a no in part 1. Then in part 2, you have to tell me how many questions were answered as yes. From part 3, you have to tell me what was the answer of question number 27 and question number 37. From part 4, you have to tell me the answer of 47 and 55. Then in part 5, you have to tell me the answer of question 61 and 65. From part 6, tell me the answer of question number 72 and 81. And from the part 7, you have to tell me the answer of 86 and question number 100. For those who will answer all the questions right, I will give a PDF version of the PPTs I have used in these 7 parts covering 100 questions. Coming to question number 89, it's a yes-no kind of question. So let's read out the first statement. The first statement says that Azure resources can only access other resources in the same Azure group. So is this a yes or is this a no? The correct answer for this one is no. It's not correct, because Azure resource can access resources in the other resource group as well. See, as I told you in the question number 86 as well, that Azure resource group is just a virtual boundary. It's not a physical boundary that you cannot jump into the other resource group to access them from one resource group. So if you have two resource group A and resource group B, then the resources which are in resource group A can very well access the resources in resource group B. Thus, the correct answer is no. Then the second statement says that if you delete a resource group, all the resources in the resource group will be deleted. It's very important that you keep related resources in a resource group. And what happens that whenever you are deleting a resource group, all the resources are deleted which were under that resource group. In fact, this is the most efficient way of deleting your resources. So for example, I will give you a use case which I use normally in practical life as well. So whenever I am working on a solution and let's say I want to test something, or I'm trying to do some research in something. What I essentially do is create a separate resource group and then create all the resources that I need in same resource group. For example, I would create a virtual machine, a storage, and any other resource that I would need to implement the solution or implement some test. Once I'm done with it, once I'm over, then I would just delete the resource group. I don't need to bother and go delete each and every resource separately. This is the best and efficient way whenever you are actually working in Azure. Thus, the answer for this one is yes. Yes, if you delete a resource group, all the resources in that resource group will be deleted. Moving on with the third statement, it says a resource group can contain resources from multiple Azure regions. The correct answer for this one is yes. Of course, resource group can contain resources from multiple Azure regions. I mean, that's what we have learned in the previous questions as well. So the correct answer is yes. Moving on with our question number 90, which again is a yes no kind of question. The question says that with software as a service, SaaS, you must apply software updates. So is it a yes or a no? The correct answer is no. In software as a service, you just use the service. You don't have to take care of software updates or security patches or peripheral security. Nothing is under your responsibility. All of that is actually taken care by the cloud provider. To give you more clarity on software as a service, here I am on the Microsoft page. Now, if you will read and understand the common examples of software as a service, you will already understand the answer. So it says that common examples are email, calendaring, office tools like Office 365. So I'm sure that all of you must have used these tools, and I'm also sure that you have never applied any software patches or upgrades whenever you're using these kind of email or calendaring service. You just use these tools and nothing else. So the correct answer is no. Moving on with the second statement, it says with infrastructure as a service, IaaS, you must install the software that you want to use. The correct answer is yes. So you can say software as a service is on one end where you don't do anything except for using the software, and IaaS is on the other end where right from the operating systems to maintaining patches and these kind of things all comes under your responsibility. So you have to install the software that you want to use, and it's actually what IaaS is used for. It gives you greater flexibility when it comes to custom solutions. So you can install your custom application, your custom softwares on infrastructure as a service. You can read more about infrastructure as a service on this page. Coming to the third statement, it says Azure Backup is an example of platform as a service. The correct answer is yes. Yes, Azure Backup is definitely an example of platform as a service. Want to read more about platform as a service? Come on to this page and you can read a whole lot of information about platform as a service. And friends, as always, all the links that I'm using in this video will surely be given in the description box below. Coming to question number 91. Let's read out the first statement. It says that you can create a resource group inside of another resource group. The correct answer for this one is no. The reason being that you are not allowed to create nested resource group. You cannot create a resource group inside a resource group. That is not allowed. Moving on with our second statement, it says an Azure virtual machine can be in multiple resource group. See, understand it in this way. Let's say you have a file. Can you put a single file into different folders? I'm not talking about making multiple copies. I'm just talking about the copy that you have. Can you put in multiple locations? Of course not. One single file can only be present in one single folder. Similarly, if you have one virtual machine or for that matter any other resource, you cannot put that resource into multiple resource groups. It will always be present in a single resource group. Thus, the answer for this one is no. The third statement says that a resource group can contain resources from multiple Azure regions. The correct answer for this one is yes. Yes, of course, a resource group can contain resources from multiple Azure regions. If you want to learn more about resource group in Azure portal, then this is a good page. Amongst this list, it's interesting that you also read about this move to another resource group or subscription and how you can attain lock on the resource group. It's an interesting concept of lock where you can put a lock on some resource group level as well. And then that resource group would not be accidentally deleted. So good thing to understand because it will come handy when you are actually working with Azure. So interesting page to read on. Now moving on with our question number 92. In this question it says building a data center infrastructure is an example of operational expenditure, OpEx cost. Is it a yes or a no? The correct answer is no. Monthly salaries for technical person are an examples of operational OpEx cost. The correct answer is yes. Leasing software is an example of operational expenditure or operational cost. So the correct answer is again a yes. Now in here, I would like to give you a tip. So how you can judge or conclude if that's an operational cost or a capex or capital expenditure. It's very easy. Whenever these kind of questions comes, what you need to essentially ask yourself is whether so if the cost is recurring, then it's always operational cost. Okay. So for example, your salary, your mobile bills, your Netflix subscription or your Prime subscription, all these are recurring costs. You're giving that cost on a monthly basis. So on the other hand, if it's only a one-time cost, okay, a one-time cost is always associated with capex or capital expenditure. For example, when you're building a data center, what kind of cost is this? You are incurring a huge upfront cost. To build a data center, you have to put a lot of money to bring it, huge servers, storage machines, racks, and lot of networking cables and every other things. So it's a huge capex cost, upfront cost, one-time cost is there. That's why we have chosen a no here. However, in the other statements, it says that monthly salaries. As I told you, you are paying these salaries monthly. It's not that you pay your employee or person one-time salary and he's happy. No, that's not gonna happen. You have to pay them monthly for their service. Similarly, for leasing software, you pay a cost on a monthly base or maybe in a 6 months or maybe yearly, depending upon the lease that you have purchased. So that's why it's again a recurring cost. That's why it's a yes. So with that quick tip, let's move to our next question. The next one is question number 93. Let's read out the first statement. This one says a platform as a service solution that hosts web apps in Azure provides full control of operating system that hosts the applications. The correct answer for this one is no, because in PaaS as a service, you don't have full control over the operating systems. If you want the full control, then you should deploy your solution on IaaS or infrastructure as a service. Moving on with the next statement, we have platform as a service solution that hosts web apps in Azure can be provided with additional memory by changing the pricing tier. The correct answer for this statement is yes. Yes, the web apps that are hosted on platform as a service, they can be actually provided with additional memory by changing the pricing tier. So correct answer is yes. Then moving on, we have the third statement that says that platform as a service solution that hosts web apps in Azure can be configured to automatically scale number of instances based on demand. The correct answer for this one is again a yes, because see, PaaS solution that hosts web apps in Azure does provide the ability to scale the platform automatically, and this ability of automatic scaling is actually known as auto scaling. Moving on with our question number 94. In this kind of question, you have to drag the options given on the left side to match the statement given on the right hand side. Now let's read the first statement. This one says that no required capital expenditure. So now you have to tell that in what kind of cloud you don't require capital expenditure. Is it hybrid or private or public cloud? The correct answer for this one is public cloud. So whenever you are moving to public cloud, all the you don't have to build the infrastructure or buy servers or virtual machines or any other hardware. You don't have to build any data center. So thus you don't require any capital expenditure. And that's the correct answer for this statement, public cloud. Moving on, the second statement says provides complete control over security. Now, if you want complete control over security, I mean, of course, cloud solution in itself are very secure. But yes, if you have some custom security needs that you think that are not available in public cloud, then you have to go for the solution which is private cloud. So private cloud provides you ability to have greater control over the security. Thus, that's the answer. Now, the third statement says provides a choice to use on premises and cloud based resources. And of course, the answer here is hybrid cloud. So what happens in hybrid cloud is you keep using your on-premise resources. However, if you want extra power or extra memory or storage or anything, then you leverage on the cloud-based resources. That's the hybrid cloud model. Friends, before we move ahead, if my efforts are helping you learn the cloud better and score good marks in certification, then don't miss to subscribe to the channel so you are not missing any important video. Do press that bell icon and give me a like and share this video to the maximum you can. Now let's move to question number 95. The first statement in this question says that an Azure subscription can be associated to multiple Azure Active Directory, Azure AD tenants. The correct answer for this one is no. Because an Azure Active Directory tenant can have multiple subscription, but an Azure subscription can only be associated with one Azure Active Directory tenant. So it's very important that you keep this association or hierarchy in mind whenever you are answering these kind of questions. Moving on with our next statement, we have you can change the Azure Active Directory, Azure AD tenant to which an Azure subscription is associated. Basically, the statement is asking you whether you can move your Azure subscription to another Azure Active Directory or not. The correct answer for this one is yes, of course you can do that. Here I am on the Microsoft page that tells you more about transfer an Azure subscription to a different Azure AD directory. So the heading itself gives you an idea that of course this is possible to move Azure subscription to a different Azure AD directory. You can read more on how to do that and achieve that on this page. Continuing with our third statement, it says that when an Azure subscription expires, the associated Azure Active Directory tenant is deleted automatically. Now here friends, you have to understand that if your subscription expires, you essentially lose all the resources that are associated with the subscription. However, even if the subscription has expired, Azure Active Directory still stays there. In fact, you can still associate and manage the directory using different Azure subscription. Thus, the correct answer for this statement is no. Moving on with our question number 96. This one says that a company can extend a private cloud by adding its own physical server to public cloud. Now, it's important that you understand and read the question very carefully because sometimes it can be really confusing and Microsoft is very smart to confuse you at many places. So here it actually saying you that can you extend your private cloud by adding your physical server to the public cloud. We have read this and understood this many times that in public cloud, the infrastructure or the servers are not in your control. All is managed by the cloud provider himself. So the correct answer for this one is no. You cannot deploy your own physical servers on public cloud. Moving on with the second statement, we have to build a hybrid cloud, you must deploy resources to public cloud. We have read this many times that hybrid cloud is a combination of public and private, or you can also say on premises. So of course, in order to gain the hybrid cloud, you must deploy resources to the public cloud. Thus, the correct answer for this statement is yes. Moving on with the third statement, we have a private cloud must be disconnected from the internet. Well, you have to understand that private cloud does not mean that it is not connected to internet. Of course, in fact, I believe that all private clouds more or less are connected to internet. It's just that in private cloud, the infrastructure is your own. It doesn't have to be disconnected from the internet. Thus, the correct answer for this one is no. Next we have is question number 97. This one says that which Azure service should you use to collect events from multiple resources into a centralized repository? The correct answer for this one is Azure Event Hubs. The reason why I have chosen Azure Event Hubs because I am concentrating on the keywords which says to collect events from multiple resources. Now many times you might get confused why not Azure Monitor. This I will explain when we are taking question number 99. Here we are on the Microsoft site where you can read more about Azure Event Hubs. It says that Azure Event Hub is a big data streaming platform and event ingestion service. So you can see it's an event ingestion service. That's why I have chosen Azure Event Hub as an answer to this question. Moving on with question number 98. Here we have which Azure service provides a set of version control tools to manage the code. Is it Azure Repos, Azure Dev Test Labs, or Azure Storage, or is it Azure Cosmos DB? Now the correct answer is Azure Repos. Sometimes you also called it Azure Repositories. In fact, the name itself suggests you that it's a kind of repository where you can manage the version of your codes. That's why the correct answer is Azure Repos. The other three options are not related to version control. For example, these two are databases, and Azure Dev Test Lab is related to creating resources in an efficient or quicker way. So this is also not related to version control. And of course, you can read more about Azure repos on this page. So it's a great page to come and learn about Azure repos. Moving on with our question number 99. This one says that you have a virtual machine named VM1 that runs on Windows Server 2016. VM1 is in East US Azure region. Which Azure service should you use from the Azure portal to view service failure notifications that can affect the availability of VM1? Here the keywords are that you need to view the service failure. Now, as I gave the reference of question number 99 in this question number 97, the difference is here you wanted to collect events. However, here you want to view the service failure. Thus, the correct answer for question number 99 is Azure Monitor. So I hope you got the drift of why I chose the answer as Azure Monitor here and why Azure Event Hub here. If you want to learn more about Azure Monitor, this is the Microsoft page where you can get an overview of Azure Monitor, how it helps to collect insights or telemetry from different Azure resources, and much more. Now let's move on with our question number 100. If you're still with me, give yourself a round of applause. This is our last question for part 7 of our AZ-900 real exam question and answer series. This one says that you have to complete the sentence. An availability zone in Azure has physical separate location. You have to tell whether it has physical separate locations across 2 continents, within a single Azure region, within multiple Azure regions, or within a single Azure data center. The correct answer for this one is within a single Azure region. Now here I am on the Microsoft page that talks more about regions and availability zones. You can read more about regions and availability zone here, but the part where I'm most interested is this image. Here you can see that Azure region here. So this is an entire Azure region and these are multiple availability zones. So the hierarchy is that under one Azure region, you have multiple availability zones. Or in other words, we can say An availability zone in Azure has physically separate locations within a single Azure region. If this video has added any value in your learning, a like and subscribe is highly appreciated. Share this video in your family and friends to spread and expand their learning. Your comments and feedback give me a chance to interact with you, and I look forward for them. We will meet again in our next video. Till then, stay fit, keep learning, and thanks for watching.